It's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Change of pace, eh?
Hey, we're just trying to mix it up, man.
Hanging out in this retirement community.
We broke into a gated community.
Now, this is Mike's back porch, and for whatever reason, we're outside again.
Yeah.
Probably because it's just we're reminiscing of the good old COVID days where we did a lot of videos outside.
No camper. Let's some thumbs up for if we get so many likes, we'll do a camper video.
We'll do bring the camper back. Yes, I think there'll be lots of comments about the camper. So leave those below. All right, so this is a preview of a Jar of Destiny beer. And
is it really?
Yes, and you're like, why? How could that be? So we'll talk about it. The Jar of Destiny gave me a selection of a Belgian Tripel. And if you know your Belgian Tripels, you know that they are high gravity beers, meaning their starting gravity is pretty darn high, pretty high. So with me knowing that, okay, thanks Jar of Destiny, I probably am not going to consume a lot of Belgian Tripel, I decided to make a smaller batch. I actually scaled it down to a 3-gallon batch, but I decided, shush dog, I decided that what I would do is still mash sort of near my same volume. So the first runnings went into the kettle, and then I just filled up my second runnings of my batch sparge to the volume that I needed to have for my smaller size batch in the fermenter, right?
Right.
But because of that, I was left with a lot of wort, and I was like, well, I can't just waste that wort.
No.
So let's make a table beer. This is kind of a Parti-Gyle style beer.
That's the way to go.
And so I just kind of saved the second runnings, probably about 2 US gallons worth of wort. And I said, well, we're going to make a 1-gallon batch. And so two things are happening in this. One, the grain bill for the wort, is just Pilsner malt. Just Pilsner malt, maybe a little wheat. I won't give off too much.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to give away too much for the Jar of Destiny beer, which will be debuting probably next month. But for this is that wort along with a few ounces of Mosaic hops and a little bit of El Dorado hops, and the yeast that I used to ferment this in a 1-gallon batch was a captured mason jar of Cosmic Punch.
Oh.
So that's what we have going on here. Very juicy. I smell it and I have a reminiscent of baby aspirin. There is a orange.
Okay, I was like, wait, is that supposed to be positive?
No, I don't know. It's like, well, we're in the still COVID days. No, I actually have some positive feelings about that.
Yep.
It's not like a bright orange. It's more of a muted orange on the nose for me.
On the nose, I get like white peach and almost like green papaya.
Ooh,
right? Like
green papaya.
Underripe papaya, muddled in there with some like white peach or just underripened peach. But I do like it. I like it. I really do actually think that it's pretty funky presentation of that tropical fruity character. It's definitely all fruit all the way.
Yeah. And then in the taste, what are you picking up? I'm getting a lot of like, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is where people are like, this is kind of orange juicy. Unfortunately, what's happening is I'm getting a lot of strong flavors in the aftertaste. They're taking away from that first flavor, and I think it's because of the low starting gravity on this.
I get a lot of, there's a little bit of fruitiness, but it's pretty, overall it's pretty thin. I'm getting, it's almost mineral-like, but it's, the aftertaste for me, there's just a lot of like pith. It's just almost all white pith, grapefruit pith almost, but without any of the grapefruit character. It's fascinating because the aroma is so fruit forward, but the flavor just doesn't carry it.
Yeah. And that might be saying something about like the you know, how much actual sugars you have at the very start. Because when I did the starting gravity of this is like a 1040 starting gravity.
Yeah.
You know? Not that
It
high.
really shows you how a little bit of residual body, a little bit of residual maltiness, despite the fact that you can have like an American Pale Ale or American IPA that might not actually really present malty to any degree, but just having enough of it there in the background, hiding behind those hops, help support those hops. Because like in this example, you can feel that it's really thin. You can taste, and that Cosmic Punch has really probably fermented it pretty hard, pretty well. So there just isn't much left of the grain bill. And granted too, to be fair, you're squeezing the grain bill into a zone that maybe it's not perfectly suited for this, and we can discuss that in the far future. But yeah, it's really, this is a great learning experience actually for the palate on how that aroma character is there. So there's plenty of those oils and plenty of that, but without a beer underneath it to support it. Right? It just falls flat a bit on the palate. Yeah,
I think the biggest, so let's talk about the hopping schedule. All of it went in post-boil. Okay. So it was all hop stand. You know, I cooled it down to about 185 degrees Fahrenheit, 85 Celsius. Let it sit for 20 minutes, and then that was it. No dry hopping, that's all. I just think the quantity of hops that I put in, I put in too much. I think this could probably have done with half of what I put in, if not, you know, a quarter of what I put in. And it would have been a tasty fruit-forward beer without all that. And it's funny, like, it's not bitterness. It's just kind of like, maybe this is what we say, like the hop bite that you're talking about. You know, it's very. I don't think it's like, it doesn't taste like I just bit a pellet, a hop pellet.
No, it doesn't.
But
yeah, because it's really more lingering on the tongue, and not like that pellety dry hop burn taste. You know, that not, it's, everyone says burn, it's not really a burn, it's just that raw pellet thing. I almost wonder if actually, now that you're describing a little bit more, with those hops being so late added, and the fact that the flavor is so predominant, and I almost wonder if there's a bit of astringency going on there, if that's what that really is, if it's just some astringency from like that second runnings process, and maybe if the pH sort of drifted up a bit, that you were able to get a little bit of tannin quality from the grain bed, and that's sort of, with what's in there from those hops, if it's just sort of amplifying, without much malt behind it, amplifying that pithiness, and it's actually astringency is what we're getting as a
potentially,
as a thing. Because your brain wants to, you're experiencing this thing on your palate, and your brain wants to put a flavor to it. And so I'm saying it's white pith, but at the same time, straight up astringency is going to have that same feel on the palate a little bit too, I think. So it could be that.
Could be.
Or maybe a combination of the two.
So interesting experiment. I think that sometimes
experiments are important.
I've always think to myself, like, oh, am I going to waste all this wort? That feels like such a tragedy, you know? Because I will just like pour it outside or something and say, like, I probably could have done something.
Feed the worms.
Right. But I think if I'm going to do that again, if I have that thought of like, gee, this shouldn't go to waste, what I'll do is just, you know, go a little easier on the old hopping, and maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe change up the yeast strain. But the funny thing is, this 1 gallon batch became basically a starter. For
Cosmic Punch.
For the Cosmic Punch, which will have,
why not, right?
We'll have that beer later on too, because along with the Canadian Cascade hops that came along, also a recipe for a blonde ale. So I followed that and used the yeast from this batch in that beer, and I'm hoping that we can taste that and say, like, does the Cascadian hops present themselves the same way as they did in the Smash beer? With US-05 as the yeast, you know, we'll see. I think that is going to be another great beer to try out. And then, of course, the Belgian Tripel, which is kind of the starting point for all of these beers.
All of these beers,
So Anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate you coming along for the experiment with the leftover wort turned into a 1-gallon batch of beer, which may have served more knowledge base and certainly like a nice yeast starter for, I'm guaranteeing a better tasting beer.
That's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're relating experiences and
Yeah.
just,
Yep.
you can take from it what you want.
Yeah. I mean, look, like we've always told the audience, like sometimes stuff is just okay. Sometimes it's really bad.
Yeah.
You know, there are some times that we hit the mark and it's good, but we'd rather be just talking about how it really is. And not every batch is going to be a blue ribbon worthy beer, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So give us a thumbs up if you like this kind of stuff. We do it every single week. Leave a comment below if you've experimented with you know, leftover wort. I know that dog has. And if you want this kind of thing every single week, subscribe to our channel because that's what we do. We publish one of these videos every single week on YouTube for John and Mike. Brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.